Vayigash, and I have a little bit of a shorter shir this evening, but I got very excited because in addition to going ahead and learning a little bit about the Parsha, we're going to see a dramatically beautiful Chanukah tie-in as well. And even though, again, I know we're after Chanukah, now it's Isru Chag already, but I spoke about this morning a little bit the leftover oil, the Mosar Hashem. And so, Baruch Hashem, we all have a little bit of leftover oil, and Emer Hashem will put it to good use this evening. So the pasuk says the following, just to give you the backdrop. So remember, again, it's in this week's Parsha that Yosef reveals his identity to his brothers. The brothers had no idea that the man they were standing before was in fact, the viceroy of Egypt was in fact their brother. Yosef HaTzadik says, Ani Yosef ha'oda bichai. I am Yosef, is my father still alive? And the Torah recounts the brothers were unable to go ahead and respond. They didn't know what to say. They didn't even know how to articulate a proper coherent response to this dramatic piece of information. So the Torah then goes on to say that Yosef tries to draw his brothers near. And he draws them near in two ways. Number one, with conciliatory words. He speaks to them in a loving way. He reassures them, which is actually quite dramatic, that it's not their fault. It's not their fault, all that occurred. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted all of this to happen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the choreographer, is the one who orchestrated all of these events. It is clear that God has sent me to Egypt to be able to be the provider, not just for the family, but to be able to be the provider for the greater region, right? For the entire region, to save them from regional famine. In addition, he gives them gifts. He gives them gifts of clothing, he gives them gifts of money, and ultimately gives them gifts of food. The gifts of food are primarily to be taken back to Egypt, and then to Canaan, to be given to Yaakov and the family, and to serve as provisions ultimately for the journey down to Mitzrayim. So the Torah, when discussing the gift, says something amazing. Look at number one. L'kulam nasan la'ish chalifos smalos. So Yosef gave, now the translation over here is he gave each of them several changes of clothing. But the truth is, that's not the literal translation over here. What the literal translation is, he gave them all a change of clothing. He gave their brothers a new article of clothing. U'lebinyamin nasan shlosh me'os kasef v'chamesh chalifos smalos. And to Binyamin he was given two things. He was given 300 silver pieces of silver, and 5 changes of clothing. So whereas all the brothers get 1 change of clothing, Binyamin is given 300 silver pieces and 5 changes of clothing. So when we see this pasuk, or when we see this, our antenna goes up. Why? Favoritism. Because remember, take a look at number 2. The Gemara Maseches Megillah says it so dramatically. L'kulam nasan leish chalifos smalos u'lebinyamin nasan chamesh chalifos efshar davar shenitzta'er ba osa tzadik yikashel ba. So the Gemara asks such a dramatic question. The Gemara says, Yosef, if anyone should know better, it's you. Now remember again, the tension between Yosef and his brothers was an already pre-existing tension. It existed before the Ksonas HaPasim, it existed before the coat that Yaakov gave to Yosef, because the tension between Yosef and his brothers was a carryover of the tension between Rachel and Leah. So that already was felt by their children. The children of Leah already knew that the children of Rachel were favored. They knew that their mother was not as beloved as Rachel Imenu. And as such, again, the tension was there. But when does the tension hit its peak? When do things really go badly? When Yaakov Avinu decides to go ahead and buy Yosef a more expensive or nicer article of clothing than the rest of his brothers. So the Gemara says, Yosef, you saw what favoritism does. You, unfortunately, again, received the brunt. Now, again, to be clear, this does not absolve the brothers of their guilt in what they did to Yosef. But what it does do is the following. We understand why sometimes good people do very bad things. The Shvatim were very good men. They were tzaddikim, who again, although they thought they were doing the right thing, mistreated their younger brother. And the Gemara says all of this was because of favoritism. Literally translated, could it be that the very thing that caused this tzaddik, the tzaddik being Yosef, could it be that the very thing that caused Yosef so much pain, he's going to stumble on? In other words, Yosef's going to repeat the same mistake of his father. Because the Gemara says, because the extra 2 slime the extra little bit of money that Yaakov spent on Yosef, on his ksonas hapasa, on his multicolored coat, niskalgel hadavar, and a masatzi amplified between the brothers, v'yardu avosenu lemitzrayim, and our forefathers descended into Egypt. So what do you see? You see from it, this is a very dramatic Gemara because Chazal placed the responsibility of Egyptian servitude on the shoulders of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov, you favored one son over the other. Things got out of hand. Brothers turned on each other. And as a result of the little bit of favoritism that you expressed towards one son over your others, niskalgel hadavar. Niskalgel hadavar means sometimes we create dynamics that snowball. We create dynamics that we can no longer control. Yaakov, you created a dynamic that you could not rein back in. And why? All because of an extra couple of dollars that you spent on Yosef more than the other brothers. Says the Gemara, could it be that Yosef, who unfortunately was the recipient of his brother's animosity, that he would make the same mistake? That he would do the same exact thing? That he would repeat this negative behavior of favoritism? So how are we to understand Yosef's behaviors? So if you take a look at the Chizkuni, so I'll show you a couple of different approaches. So if you look at the Chizkuni writes, the Kulam Nasan Lish Khalifos number 3, V'yesh Omrim, Malbushe begadim lefi shegarlam shekaro bigdayim shelo kedin kishetziva lasis hagavia bamtachas binyamin v'nisbaishu al shaykru begadim. So listen to this. First of all, the Chizkuni says in general, why is Yosef giving them a change of clothing? Why are they need a change of clothing? So the Chizkuni says something amazing. If you remember again, going back to last week's parasha, so Yosef went ahead and hid his goblet in the sack, in the grain sack of Binyamin. So what happens? When they stop off at the inn, when they're traveling back to Canaan, they stop off at the inn, they open up the bags, they see the goblet of Yosef. What do? They tear their clothing. They tore their clothing as a display of mourning. So therefore, says the Chizkuni, since their clothing was torn, it was embarrassing for them to walk around with torn clothing, and therefore Yosef gives them a change of clothing. Okay, so that accounts for one change of clothing per brother. What about the additional changes of clothing that were given to Binyamin? So he says, Binyamin, al yidishlo hayu b'mechiraso, nosan shloshme es kesef, aval shar echav shemachruhu, lo nosan kedei liknos kol echad eser yodos yoser midemei eved. So the Chizkuni says something amazing. The Chizkuni says that the brothers each received money for the sale of Yosef. When they sold Yosef as a slave, they each received some type of profit. Who was the one brother who didn't receive any profit from the sale of Yosef? Binyamin. The money, says the Chizkuni, represents Yosef saying to Binyamin, here I'm going to give you back, essentially, the portion, all the money that our brothers profited from my sale, I'm giving back to you. So it's interesting, according to the Chizkuni, the money was a little bit of musr. I mentioned this also in this morning's shir a little bit. Yosef gives his brothers musr about their mistreatment of him multiple times. The difference is he constantly and consistently does it in a nuanced fashion. Yosef recognizes, the point of musr, the point of rebuking someone, of giving someone feedback, is not to make them feel bad. The point of musr is to be constructive and to help a person refine themselves. Yosef realizes that if I'm going to help my brothers, the musr has to be given in a nuanced way. I can't humiliate them. So what does he do? He gives Binyamin the 300 silver pieces. What did the 300 silver pieces correspond to? Corresponds ultimately again to the amount of money that the brothers collectively profited off of the sale of Yosef. So by giving Binyamin back that money, he was highlighting the fact, I love you all, but I just want to point out that you all bear a certain degree of guilt. It is only Binyamin who did not participate in my sale. And he goes on. He says, V'chamesh chalifos smalos. So why does he give Binyamin 5 changes of clothing? Achos al shekara begadav v'mechav. So one, because Binyamin tore his clothing like all the other brothers. V'ashenis al shu benimo. A second outfit was because they shared the same mother. Hashlishis al boshto shehotzi alav shem geneva. The third was restitution, because Yosef accused Binyamin of what? Of being a thief. So the third outfit was restitution, that he called him a thief. Ushtayim, and the 2 last ones, shahaya mechaybo tashlume kefel. When you steal an object, there's an obligation of kefel. Kefel means that you don't just pay back once, but you pay back double. Pay back double. So therefore, the Chizkuni understands very beautifully, this is the symbolic meaning of the 5 outfits that Yosef gives to Binyamin. One, because like all the brothers, Binyamin tore his clothing upon being accused of this thievery, bless you, and therefore he's walking around with torn clothing. Number 2, because they came from the same mother. Number 3, because he slandered him, he maligned him by calling him a thief. And 4 and 5, because as a result of that claim, Binyamin would have had to have paid back Kefel double payment for the theft of the goblet. Therefore, in order to make Binyamin whole, so to speak, Yosef gives him 5 articles of clothing, five outfits. But again, it's a wonderful explanation, a fascinating explanation, a riveting explanation. But at the end of the day, we're still left with our core question, which is, how could he display favoritism? I understand that there's a meaning. I understand that it's not haphazard. I understand that it's not random. But at the end of the day, he's actively favoring one brother over the others. Yosef, you know what happens when you do this. I understand there's symbolism. But still, Yosef, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? So if we take a look at number 4, the Gemara Maseches Megillah has a different approach. The Gemara says, Amarai Binyamin bar Yefes, Remez Ramazlo. So the Gemara here takes a different kind of approach. And the Gemara says that there was a symbolic meaning to the gifts that Yosef gave to Binyamin. What were the symbolic meanings? Sha'asid ben lotseis mimenu, sheyetze melifnei hamelech bechamisha levushe malchus. That Binyamin would have a son, he would have a descendant, who would walk before the king wearing 5 monarchical garments. Which son are we talking about? Shene Emar, Umordechai Yatza, Bilevush Malchus, Tcheles, Gul, Argamon, all the different articles. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says something amazing. So Yosef is giving Binyamin a metaphorical foreshadowing gift. He's giving him a gift that ultimately, again, is an allusion to a great descendant he's going to have. Because Binyamin is going to have a great descendant by the name of Mordechai. You know, there's a whole discussion about what Shevet Mordechai was from. Was he from Yehuda? Was he from Binyamin? The Gemara calls him, the Megillah calls him Ish Yemini, which sounds like he's from Binyamin. Clearly the approach over here is that he's from Binyamin. And therefore the Gemara understands that when Mordechai is paraded out, this refers ultimately again to the end of the Megillah. When Mordechai is elevated to his new position, he goes out wearing 5 distinct garments. And therefore says the Gemara, Yosef is alluding to the great descendant of Binyamin, Mordechai, ultimately again who is going to be paraded out in front of the king wearing 5 beautiful garments. Okay, what does this mean? Meaning what's the symbolism here? And remember again, even more importantly, how does this answer our question? Meaning we're just bothered by one simple thing, which is favoritism. Favoritism never works. It happened a number of times in the patriarchal and matriarchal families, and it never works, meaning there's always a negative repercussion. Yosef was the one who bore the greatest brunt from the negativity of favoritism, and he seems to be doing it over here. I understand that there's a symbolism, I understand that there's a metaphorical meaning, but still, what is it that Yosef is trying to accomplish? Meaning, we have to understand that Yosef must have a plan. There must be a machshava. There must be some type of framework here that Yosef is working in. So what is the deeper plan Yosef HaTzadik? So take a look at number 6. There's a beautiful insight by Rabbi Yitzchak Berdichev. See here the Rebbe says something beautiful. Look down to paragraph base. V'nira b'siyata d'shmaya, litain tam v'shevach l'divrei chachamenu zal. So the Rebbe is commenting on the Gemara Maseches Megillah number 4 that we just mentioned. That the 5 articles of clothing ultimately are symbolic of the 5 articles that Mordechai is going to wear when he's elevated to a position of prominence by the king. So the Rebbe writes, the Beruach Kadsham, Ramzu di Yosef Ramaz LeBinyamin Nes Mordechai. The Rebbe says there's something deeper happening over here. Yosef is telling Binyamin a dramatic piece of future information. Yosef is alluding to Binyamin, my dear brother, you are going to have a descendant who is going to help shepherd the Jewish people through some incredibly tumultuous times. Ki Yosef u'Binyamin me'em echad hayu. Yosef and Binyamin are both the sons of Rachel. Ve'heralo shemikra echad yikra l'shnehem. And because we are of the same mother, our destinies are intertwined. And my life story, says Yosef to Binyamin, is your life story. Kimo di Yosef nis'ala al yidei chalom shechalam leparo. So just like Yosef's rise to prominence comes through what? Comes through a dream. Paro has a dream and Yosef interprets the dream. And it's through that interpretation that Yosef is elevated. Came Mordechai, sheyotza mi Binyamin, bless you, nis'ala al yidei chalom. Kema'amar abosina betargum or medrash rabbah, tebalayla hazhahu nadada shnas hamelach. So remember again, how does Mordechai rise to prominence? Mordechai's rise to prominence is also through what? Through a dream. What does the Medrash say? It was on that night that the king was unable to sleep. Why not? So at the end of paragraph base, Shechalamo shahaman ratzalahargo. He dreamt that Haman was trying to kill him. Va'ayidei kain nismali alav chema. And as a result, ultimately again, Achashverosh becomes filled with rage against Haman. Vitziva osala halbish as Mordechai lo licho berachov ha'ir. So remember again, there's more to the story. What happens in the story? Achashverosh has a distressing dream. He's unable to go to sleep. So what does he tell? Right? He tells Hasach. Right? He tells Hasach to bring the Sefer HaZichronos, to bring the book of remembrances. And what does he read about? He reads about the fact that Mordechai foiled the assassination attempt of Big Son and Seresh. So says Yosef to his brother Binyamin, my brother, our destinies are intertwined. Because we are of the same mothers, we are linked not just simply by biology, but we are linked by destiny. What has happened to me is going to happen to one of your Einiklach, is going to happen to one of your grandchildren. Just like I experienced an incredible rise to power through the interpretation of a dream, your descendant Mordechai is also going to experience an incredible meteoric rise to power through a dream. Paragraph Gimel. Ukimo shi Yosef haya afa pikein tachas rishus paro kiperu shashi v'pasuk raka gisek don lacha kimo kein Mordechai shesem v'minyamin afa pishnes ala haya tachas rishus Achashverosh. Turn the page. Kima amar chachamenu zal. So remember again. And what else does Yosef say? My brother Binyamin, even though I have achieved an incredible level of greatness, I am not autonomous. I still am under the control of a despotic, unpredictable ruler. So too, your grandson Mordechai will have an incredible meteoric rise. And at the end of the day, he will be the second in command. But he too will not be an autonomous ruler. He too will be under the thumb of a despotic, unpredictable ruler. Paragraph Dalet. Me'atin Yirali. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, this is what's unfolding in this conversation between Yosef and Binyamin. And we'll discuss the gifts in just a little bit. But the idea ultimately is that Yosef, when he gives these 5 articles according to Binyamin, this is not just a gift. What he's telling you is, my brother, I want to give you a window into your destiny. I want to tell you what is going to unfold with your children. I could speak to it because I've experienced what your grandson is going to experience. Because whatever has happened to me is going to happen to your grandson Mordechai. And the Rebbe says, once we see this idea, we could expand it dramatically. Paragraph Dalet. Me'ato nira li t'chol ma'aseh shiftei ka'ak doshem at'orim simin tov lebanim. So what happens? So here Rabbi Yitzchak seems to quote the concept of ma'aseh avos simin lebanim. That which happened to the forefathers is a metaphoric foreshadow for that which will happen to the descendants, to the children. This, the Ramban already advances, as I did, I quotes the Ramban earlier on in Sefer Bereshis, that the reason why the Torah goes through all of the stories in Bereshis, even though the Torah itself is not a storybook, is in order to go ahead and highlight the idea that what happened to the forefathers foreshadows what is going to happen in our experience. Avram Avinu went down to Mitzrayim because of famine. Klal Yisrael goes down because of famine. Avram has difficulties with outside nations. His children have difficulties else. Everything that happened to the Avos and the Mos foreshadows what happens to us, their children. The Yosef Ramaz Leguulas Mordechai B'Yisrael Haman Arasha. And ultimately, again, what happened to Yosef is a foreshadow to the Purim story. What happened to Yosef was the son of Rachel, is a foreshadow to what would happen with Binyamin, who was the son of, what happened with Mordechai, who was the grandson of Binyamin. Ukimokein, Shimon, Believe, Baharigasim, Shem, get ready for this. So too, when Shimon and Levi wiped out the city of Shechem, remember again, when do Shimon and Levi wipe out the city of Shechem? So their sister Dinah is abducted and raped by Shechem ben Chamor. And what happens? Then they decide, Shechem falls in love with her, he wants to marry her, they're ready to circumcise themselves. Shimon and Levi say, sure. They go in, third day post-circumcision, and they wipe out the entire city. What is that a foreshadow to? Ramzu Gu'ulas Chanukah, Me'uma Harisha. That foreshadows the miracle of Chanukah and our redemption and salvation from the Greeks. Dimamish domelo. Dikimo gabe Shechem hayakitzas ayadei milchama shel Shimon v'Levi. V'Yeshuas Hashem azar lahem. Kimo kim b'Chanukah haya ayadei milchama shel Chashmonai yibanav. V'Hashem yisparach azar lahem limsar giborim biyad chaloshim. So amazing of what happened on Chanukah, or I should say, what happened in Shechem. What happened in Shechem is two young men, went in and wiped out an entire city. They were outnumbered, they were outsorted, they were out everything. There was no way for them to win that battle. Why did they do it? They did it because, remember again what happens at the end of that episode? Yaakov Avinu confronts them. He says, what did you do? You put the whole family in danger. Remember again, what do Shimon and Levi respond? They say, Hachazone yases achosenu. Should our sister be treated like a harlot? Should our sister be mistreated like this? And we're just going to stand by and do absolutely nothing? There was this righteous indignation. There was this idea that when your ideas and your ideals and your identity is being trampled on, you don't sit there and take it. You stand up for yourself. What was Chanukah? Chanukah was the Chashmonaim. Remember again, who Chashmonaim were what? Were Kohanim. Part of which Shevet? Part of Shevet Levi. These were the grandsons of Levi. And the grandsons of Levi come along and they say, I'm sorry. We can't stand idly by while our ideas, our ideals, our theology is being trampled on by the Greeks. I know we're smaller in number. I know we're not nearly as strong. We're not nearly as mighty. But we can't stand idly by. We must rise up. We must fight back. Mashenkim, Bapurim, so skip down a little bit. Lahachi, Bechanukah dahaya aydei ma'aseh de Shimon v'Levi b'Shechem, shem garmu b'Shechem lifol, she'er lebnayim kidom l'Shechem. So ultimately says the Rebbe something so amazing. He says it was the episode in Shechem which paved the way for the salvation of Chanukah. It was the actions of Shimon and Levi which paved the way for the actions, the heroic actions of the Chashmonaim, the Hayu Kohanim, Shavo Mishevet Levi. Skip to paragraph H. Ume'ata Yo'ir Einenu B'Torasa. So okay, he goes on, he explains the rest of Chanukah. So what Rabbi Yitzchak is saying is something dramatically amazing, which is that in Ma'aseh Avot, we were all familiar with this concept of Ma'aseh Avos Simon Labanim. That the actions of the forefathers are a foreshadow, ultimately, again, for that which will occur in the future. That we know. What Rav Levi Yitzchak is doing is he's taking it one step further. It's not just that the actions of the fathers are a foreshadow for the actions of the children, but rather it's one step more. It's that the actions of the father give chizuk to the children to take decisive, heroic action as well. In other words, what Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev is saying is, do you ever wonder where the Chashmonaim got their inspiration from? Where did the Chashmonaim get their inspiration from? So I'm going to show you where they got their inspiration from. Take a look at number 7. This is from Medrash Chanukah, Medrash Maaseh Chanukah. So I have to share with you, I think this is one of the most dramatic Chanukah midrashim. I'm sure that I've learned this with you sometime in the past, but even though it's after Chanukah, the story is a dramatic one. Look at this. Paragraph A. Kevan Shra Yivanim. So the Medrash over here is discussing what all the different Greek decrees that the Greeks levied upon the Jewish people with one specific goal, which was to break the spirit of the Jewish people. Kevan Shra Yivanim Shen Yisrael Margishim Exerosem. Once the Greeks saw that the Jews were not being broken by their decrees, Amdu v'gazru aleim gzera mara va'avura. Shelo tikanis kala balayla harisha michupasa. So the Greeks then go ahead and unfold or unleash a dramatically horrific decree, which is that every Jewish girl who would get married would have to spend her wedding night with the local Greek governor. That was what they legislated. You can get married, you can do whatever you want, but the wedding night has to be spent with the Greek governor. So the first reaction to this was to stop getting married. How could a couple put themselves in this situation? How could a young woman put herself in this situation? So they stopped getting married. This decree lasted for 3 years and 8 months. 3 years and 8 months. The Jews essentially did not marry. Now, obviously, what happens with most things is that over time they just came to accept the decree. Because again, to not marry, to not build families wasn't shaykh. So unfortunately, they just came to accept the decree with all of its horrible ramifications. Look at paragraph B. This is a dramatic story. Ad sheba maisa shalbas matisya kohen gadol sheniseis leben chashmonai ve'elazar hayashma. Until perhaps what was the wedding of the generation. What was the wedding of the generation? The daughter of the kohen gadol. The kohen gadol was a man by the name of Matisyo, daughter of the kohen gadol, who was getting married to one of the Chashmonai boys. The Chashmonaim were one of the most prominent Kohanic families. So the daughter of the high priest, the daughter of the Kohen Gadol, is marrying Elazar Chashmonai. He's marrying Elazar from the Hasmonean family. What this girl's name is there's a lot of historical debate. Some identify her as Yehudis. As Yehudis, the famous Yehudis on Chanukah, there's a lot of stories told about her. So she is the daughter of Matisyo. So what happens? So what happens? The wedding comes, and of course you have to imagine, the daughter of the Kohen Gadol is getting married to a prominent member, to the most prominent Kohanic family. It's a who's who. Everybody, the chashiv people, everybody's there. So they put a pirion means like the big college chair. So she's sitting in the big college chair. So all the Gedolei Ador, all the great men of the generation, everybody's there to give cover to Matisyo, the Kohen Gadol, the Chashmonai family. Get ready for this. Get ready for this story. Everybody sits down for the meal. Everybody sits down for the meal. Amda Chana bas Matisyo. So in this version, her name is Chana, not Yehudis. So Chana, the daughter of Matisyo, stands up. She stands up. The Kala stands up. Sofka kapeh azu azu, which means she clapped her hands. She got everyone's attention. And what does she do? Vikara parfifon shala. She tore her dress. She tore her dress. So what exactly this means is not clear, but one thing is clear, which is she exposed covered parts of her body. Meaning what exactly she did, I don't know, but she tore her dress. She tore her dress. So what happens? What happens? She stood there in a state of being partially unclothed. In front of her father, in front of her mother, in front of her father-in-law. They're literally ready to kill her. Right? The family's ready to kill her. What's the matter with you? What are you doing? You're publicly shaming your father. Your father's the Kohen Gadol. You're publicly shaming your husband's family. What are you doing? So what happens? So Amar lahem shma'uni achai v'dodai. My brothers, listen to me. I'm standing before you, it's true. Perhaps not in the most sanua of fashions, but I haven't done anything wrong. I stand here sinless. And you're ready to kill me because I'm not so tzanu, I'm not being so modest. Yet you're ready to send me tonight to be with the Greek governor. What she says to them is, what a chutzpah all of you have. You sit here fressing, you sit here eating, you sit here having a good time, you sit here partying, you sit here enjoying, and now you're flaring with righteous indignation because suddenly I'm not sanua, suddenly I'm not modest, suddenly you're all angry, suddenly you're all righteous, and you're totally okay with delivering me to the home of the Greek governor on my wedding night? And what does she say? Get ready. Halo yesh lechem lilmod mishimon v'levi achedina. Why don't you learn from, she's speaking to her brothers-in-law, why don't you learn from Shimon and Levi, the brothers of Dinah? Shelo hayu elashnayim. There were only two of them. V'kinu la chosem v'hargu krach kishchem. And yet they would not allow their sister to be defiled. They rose up and they wiped out an entire city.
Va'amdu nafsham ayichod shamakom. Va'azra Hashem v'lo echlilum, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu helped them. Va'atem, you, Chashmonai brothers, Chamisha achim, your 5 brothers, Yehuda, Yochanan, Yonasan, Shimon, Elazar, Upirchei Kun Yosim Asayim Bachar, and there are more than 200 other young Kohanim. Simu bitchonchem ala mokov v'yazor eschem. Place your faith in God and He will help you. Skip down a little bit. Paragraph C. Bo'os Shah niskanu achav v'amru bo'u v'nital itza ma'naaseh. And in that moment again, the brothers are makabel the Musar. They accept what Chana told them, and this is the beginning of the Chashmonai revolt. The beginning of the Chanukah story begins at the wedding of Chana to Elazar. And what was the motivation for the Hasmonean revolt, for the Chashmonai revolt? Kalo yesh lechem lilmod mi Shimon v'Levi achei Dina. You see, Ma'aseh avos simul labanim doesn't just mean what happened to the forefathers, is a metaphoric foreshadow for that which will happen to the ancestors, for the descendants, But what it means is that sometimes the actions of earlier generations give chizuk to latter generations to take decisive action. What Shimon and Levi did in Shechem gave Elazar and his brothers, the Chashmonai family, the courage to rise up, the courage to stand up, the courage to fight back, the courage to revolt, the courage not to resign themselves to these ridiculously despicable Greek decrees. The Ma'aseh avos simul labanim is not just what Shimon and Levi did in Shechem is a foreshadow of what the Chashmonaim did. No, it's what Shimon and Levi did, gave courage to the Chashmonaim to do what they needed to do. And this is what is unfolding with Yosef and Binyamin as well. Why does Yosef give Binyamin 5 articles of clothing? Is it to create animosity amongst the brothers? Of course not. Is it to favor Binyamin because Binyamin is his brother from the same mother? Of course not. Yosef, more than anyone, is not going to repeat the mistakes of favoritism. But what is Yosef doing? Yosef is saying, my dear brother, I have seen my destiny unfold in front of me, and you are going to have a son who is going to have the same destiny, your son or your grandson, Mordechai, who is also going to rise through prominence through a dream, who is also going to be paraded in front of the king and in front of the kingdom in monarchical clothing. And I want your son, your grandson, your Mordechai, to get his chizuk from me. I did it, says Yosef. I was sold, I was mistreated, I was thrown into the pit, but yet I never lost faith. I always rose up. I always tried hard to keep transcending over and over and over. And I hope Yosef says that what I did will give chizuk and mirza Hashem to your grandson. I hope that my life, that my decisions, that my courage will inspire your grandson Mordechai to do the same. That was the symbolism of the 5 articles of clothing. It's not just a nice idea that Yosef gives Binyamin 5 articles of clothing and Mordechai's 5 articles of clothing. Is that Yosef hopes that his example will inspire Mordechai to do the same. That's Ma'aseh avos simul labanim. That which we read about in Sefer Bereshis. These dramatic stories are not just simply a metaphoric foreshadow, but rather they're a source of chizuk. If these great men and women were able to take decisive action that shaped their destiny and shaped our destiny, then we must be willing to do the same. And I think what it yields for us is an incredible lesson. It yields for us lessons if a person is privileged to be a parent, but even if a person is not yet a parent, we all have spheres of influence. And very often, the way we handle difficult and tumultuous situations gives our children, our friends, our family, chizuk as well. From a parenting perspective, we all encounter stressful situations, and we all encounter difficulties, and we all encounter challenges and setbacks. And do you know what our children look at in those moments of setbacks? In those moments, Josh, where do our children look? What are they looking at? How do we respond? How do we respond? And as we all know, we know this as children.
Most of us probably remember very little of what our parents said, but we remember how our parents dealt with stress. We remember how our parents dealt with difficult situations. So if we saw our parents fall apart, if we saw our parents ultimately again just simply implode, we remember that. And as a child, that could often be traumatic, because what a child wants more than anything in moments of stress and difficulty is for a parent to be a beacon and a pillar of strength. But parents are human beings also, and sometimes they simply can't do it. What the Torah Kedosha is teaching us is that the way we run our lives, the way we conduct ourselves in times of good, but perhaps even more importantly in times of crisis, gives our children, gives our future generations, and gives those around us the chizuk to deal with their own crises as well. The gift that Yosef gives to Binyamin is a bracha to his brother. I dealt with difficult circumstances, and Yosef says, I dealt with it well. I dealt with it with nobility. I dealt with it with spirituality. I never let my faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu become shaken, and I always maintained fidelity to my beliefs, my ideals, and my theology. And I hope that I have set the proper stage for your grandson, for Mordechai, who is going to have very similar circumstances, who is going to deal with very tumultuous circumstances. So I hope that he could draw from me chizuk to weather his own storms and to be able to come through even in the most difficult situations. The Chashmonaim didn't just find the power to rebel and to revolt and to stand strong from within themselves. They drew that power from their Zaydas, from Shimon and Levi, who rose up when they saw injustice, who rose up when they saw something wrong, who took a stand despite the fact that it was totally unfeasible for them to be successful. But when the job had to get done, when someone had to take a stand, when someone had to draw the line in the sand and say, no more, this won't be tolerated, I won't allow my family, I won't allow my ideals to be trampled on. They stood strong. The Chashmonaim gleaned their strength from Shimon and Levi. The message for us is, we must be so careful with how we deal with difficult situations in life, with challenges in life, and also with brachos in life. Because if we're able to muster up the strength to deal with even the most difficult situations with poise, with spirituality, with devekus, with connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then not only will we successfully navigate out of the challenges of life, but Emirz Hashem will inspire our children, our grandchildren, and all those around us to do the same. We'll stop over here for tonight.
Thank you. All right, we'll have what always bothers me about the story though is if she's married to a Cohen,
Yeah.
how can she not be with a Cohen? If you're married in Israel, you can still be with your husband, but with a Cohen you can't be. So
It's a good question. I don't
I
know.
always bothered me.
I don't know the answer to it. I don't know the answer.
This part here, sold it for 300 kesef. אבל השאלה שמכרו לא נסתן כדי לקנוס כל אחד 10 ידות יותר מדמי עבד.
It's really the amount, really what he's referring to over here is the amount that an Eved is sold for. Demei Eved means if you injure an Eved, there's 30 shekel is the amount you have to pay. So technically speaking, 30 times 10 is 300.
Where did they get the 10?
10 brothers who participated in the Mechira.
Alright, but they sold them for, alright.
Right, it's not talking about how much they sold them for, it's talking about the value of an Eved. So the value of an Eved is 30 silver pieces.
So that's how they go.
Correct. That's how he gets the
Because otherwise,
300. Correct. That's how he gets the 300.
Alright,
Yeah.
good, good. Thank you.
See ya.
The one guy wasn't sure. He said that the guy that committed the fraud, he went to the bank and asked somebody else that was there in front of the ATM. He said, I got this check from Mr. and Mrs. Gerstein, and they couldn't give me cash. Can you cash it in your account? So that could be that guy is going to be out.
And he didn't double check it.
I don't know, he's a good Samaritan, but $536.
Yeah, and that's also a weird number.
But the 36 is because I made it out for 36.
And
He just added
Hanukkah.
a 5 for
$500
tax. I guess you can only get a certain amount of money out of a
It's all shot.
I don't know anything, I never used those things.
I never used it either.
Right.
Have a good night.
You too.
Shabbos.
Is there another
You spoke
biblical,
to us.
you spoke to our,
You spoke to us.
is there another biblical figure like that, that we, that you could trace the genetics, like we just did with
Like
Shimon and
between,
Levi?
right.
Yeah, like that genetic component, like manifested itself.
Look, there is a strong connection between Avram and Moshe.
Oh, yeah?
There's definitely that idea of the shepherd, of the person being isolated. Avram Avinu is isolated from the world.
Yeah.
Moshe Avinu is isolated even from Klal Yisrael. See, I'd have to think about it. Besides
Yeah.
Moshe and Avram, I would venture to say the answer is yes. And I
Yeah.
venture to say that you could somehow draw a parallel between every great biblical figure and someone that came before him or her.
Right.
It must, because that's what the Rebbe is saying. Every person draws a koach from someone greater before them.
Oh, so beautiful what the Rebbe said about Yosef and
A lot of good Torah.
Parallel.
yeah.
A lot of good Torah.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Good
Yeah,
night
you
to
too.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Hi. Yeah, it was very nice. Good evening. How are you, Moshe? Good, good.
I used to come regularly and then life happens, and I try to see if I can get out again.
Moshe, just tell your wife, I've got tomorrow. I read my silvers. It
No,
starts
it's
at 8.
No,
But
it's
you know
fine.
you can listen to it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know, you do it online, I do that sometimes also, yeah.
Leave it in the car,
Right, I could.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Or in
God.
the kitchen when you're cooking.
There's
or
no
at night.
shortage, it's amazing. Like going to work and back, that's what I do now.
What
You
do
ever
you
heard of the schmooze? The schmooze?
Yeah.
So